Why does the world write so many songs about love and peace and hope? Maybe it's because there's so little of it in the world. If we had more peace, we wouldn't have to write songs hoping for peace. If we had more love, we wouldn't need to dream about that perfect love. It would be a reality. And the reason, I think, for the church that it so often dreams of peace is that although we have been introduced to the Prince of Peace, we're sometimes at a lack to understand how to spread the peace. And far too often, we make the mistake of talking about peace without introducing the world to the Prince, who is our peace. Again, as I said to you last week, there will never be peace until we come to know Jesus. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 and then verse 6 and 7. Isaiah prophesied centuries before Jesus came. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the shadow of death, a light has dawned. Think about for just a moment what happens when the lights come on. I remember when I was young, my brother and I shared a bedroom. And there were those nights when we were doing things besides sleeping in our bedroom. And Mom and Dad would yell from down the hallway, "You guys be quiet in there." And sometimes that worked. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it just made things worse. We'd get into a giggle fit. We'd start laughing at absolutely nothing. And one person's laughter would spread to the other, and we just laugh back and forth. But you know, when Mom and Dad came into the room and turned on the light, there was peace. Isn't it true? Mm-hmm. What happens when there's an altercation happening and the police come by and shine the spotlight? Usually, they freeze. And there is at least momentarily peace. Well, think about those of you who live out in the country. What happens to the deer when it sees the headlights? There's peace until there's contact. Continuing in Isaiah, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end." Talk to you for a few moments about darkness. How do you experience darkness? Do you ever just go out in the dark? Turn off all the lights and sit in the dark? You know, there is an overwhelming power in darkness, but it's not generally thought of as a good thing. Most nights, I have to get up and make the trip from my bed to the bathroom. Some of you know what I'm talking about. The rest of you will get older one day and you'll understand. And when I first set my feet on the floor, the darkness encompasses me. And I have to make my way, almost by faith, to the bathroom. I have to go down by the bed and turn left when I get to the end of it, but not too soon, because there's that ottoman at the end of the bed to sit on and put my shoes on. So I have to go around that. Then I have to make a left again when I get to the other side, and then make a right and go into the bathroom. You all have your own way you have to go to get there. But I have to operate on the principle of faith that things are where there should be. And sometimes, even though they are where they should be, last night, for instance, you still run into the thing that's there. I have a scrape on my leg from the corner of the bed from last night. Because I missed. Now the interesting thing is that when I first wake up, the darkness encompasses me, but by the time I'm making my way back, my eyes have become accustomed not to the darkness, but to the light. The street lights coming in through the blinds and the curtains. For some reason, my alarm clock gets brighter when I'm headed back. But that's a good thing, because it illumines the pathway to the table right by the bed. And I know how to go because of the light. But darkness can be intimidating. Sometimes I have the opportunity, especially during this time of the year, to walk between the house and the church. It's about 125 yards. It's not that far. But in the dark, it can seem a little further than that. When I first step out into the darkness, my eyes are not attuned to it. And so I turn on the porch light. And as long as I'm on the porch, the light's good. It helps me down the stairs and out and across the driveway in the back, the parking place back there. But when I hit the dirt, the light is behind me and my shadow covers my way. There's extra darkness in front of me. And I have to be careful where I step. Is there a stick or a twig or a hole? Where does the hill start? Where are those tree roots? Now, thankfully, the tree roots generally shine a little bit more than the dirt around it. And so I'm able to step around them or step over them or step through them. And then eventually, the outline of the driveway becomes available to my eyes. There's darkness from one point of light to the next. My eyes, your eyes, our eyes don't adjust to the darkness. We might think they adjust to the darkness, but they really adjust to the available light. It's the light that allows us to see. Our writer for the Advent reading this morning suggests that peace shines a light into the darkness. And I would say that it's probably the reverse. That light shines into the darkness and brings peace. When the darkness is unsettling, the darkness can make us panicky and fearful. Darkness can cause the instinct of fight or flight to be illuminated within us. Somehow darkness amplifies the sounds around us. Walking in the dark and you hear a rustling in the leaves, you wonder, what is it? for some reason it's louder than it would have been maybe in the daytime. One night this week I had difficulty staying asleep. And so I woke up in the middle of the night and I rolled over and I heard the sound of a train, bumpity bump bump, going through town. And every time it passes one of those cross streets, the whistle would blow. I listened to the train for a little while and I drifted back off to sleep. And about 15 minutes later, I woke up again and there was another one going through town. Familiar sounds. Now that's not so interesting maybe, except that it's a mile from my house to the train tracks. I don't notice it during the day. Only in the stillness of the night and the darkness does it come to my awareness. Hooting of an owl at night breaks the silence of the darkness. The whistle of the train seems louder at night than it is in the daylight. But light has an interesting effect on us. Light can have the effect of chasing away our fears. Light can reveal the true nature of exactly what the situation has become. A flashlight can reveal that the rustling of the leaves is just the blowing of the wind and not some animal out to capture us. A street light can provide enough light to chase away the shadows that seemed so threatening just a moment ago. When Jesus was speaking to Nicodemus about being born again, he spoke to him as well about light. John 3, verses 19 through 21, he said, "This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be plainly seen that what he has done has been done through God." Light shines in the darkness. John says the darkness has not comprehended. But when we understand the light, something happens. It will either chase us back into the shadows, or it will draw us to it, and by it we can know and have peace. Evil, turmoil, upheaval often come from the place of the shadows, from the darkness. Wicked plans are not usually devised in the light of day. They're in the dark back rooms, in the cellars of this world, down the dark alleys, and in the darkness of the heart of man. But when the light of truth is shown into the situation, all of our selfishness, all of our violent, wicked plans have been revealed for what they are. Peace finally has a chance. Peace can come into our hearts. Peace can come into those situations. Peace can enter into relationships. And yet, unfortunately, just because light has shone does not mean that peace will overtake the violence. Some will flee from the light because their hearts are stained with the violence and with the fear, but others will bask in the light and the freedom that it brings. The light shining in the darkness of our lives helps us to be free from the power of the darkness. It helps to turn us to a new course, in a new way. We rejoice that the peace comes into our hearts, into our lives, into our families, into our souls. And if we really want to have an impact in this world, if we really want the world to know the peace that passes all understanding, and to know the end of violence, we must introduce them to the Prince of Peace. We must introduce them to the light that shines into the darkness and chases it away. Jesus is that light. Jesus is the peace. I remind you again, last week I closed with that bumper sticker. No Jesus, no peace. No Jesus, and you'll know peace. But without Jesus, there is no real peace. Without the Prince of Peace, there can never be true peace. There may be an armistice. There may be a ceasefire. There may be an agreement to halt hostilities for a specified period, but in the end, mankind, without God, will always revert to our sinful tendencies, to our fallen condition, which causes us enmity between one another. Our selfish desires will overwhelm us, and once again we are at war with everyone around us because we want what we want, and they want what they want. A great light has come to the universe, and a great light looks to be invited into our homes and into our hearts. When the light of the glory of God comes to us, we'll find that it chases away the darkness, that it chases away the fear, that it chases away all of the unknowns of this world, and we can face them because the light shines. Darkness retreats, and peace and love begin flowing in from the light. Listen, I do not know if you experience the light of God that illumines and calms the heart of man. I do not know if there are still places of great darkness in your life or in your heart. And I don't know if you're still living in a battle zone or if you've come to experience the peace that passes all understanding. But please know today that Jesus brings the light that accompanies his peace. Jesus chases away the fear of punishment, chases away the fear of eternal destruction. And he still desires to shine his light into new lives and new hearts and chase away their darkness. He desires to give you his peace as well.